What's going on everyone, welcome back to my channel, I'm that Scottish nerd that brings you Pokemon TCG content as well as entertainment and gaming related videos, so if any of those things interest you, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below as I do upload videos multiple times a week. But in today's video we're looking at the best one prize attacking deck in the Pokemon Standard format right now, and that is Donphan. So as always there are timestamps down in the description to jump around as it is quite a long video today. We'll start by taking a look at our main attacker here in the form of Donphan. He is a fighting type Pokemon and he does have some attributes that we will be taking advantage of here in the form of his HP, which is 150, very high for a stage 1 Pokemon, and its main attack that we're using here is Earthquake. For a single fighting energy, we are dealing 120 damage, but then we also have to do 20 damage to each of our own benched Pokemon. Now you might think that this is a bit of a drawback, and well, in many situations it will be a drawback. We're actually going to be taking advantage of this and turning it into a positive thing instead. So as I mentioned, it does have that 150 hit points as well as the 4 retreat cost. These are definitely things to keep in mind as we are playing things like buff padding here. So we'll have a look at the deck as a whole. This is the list that we're running. It has a lot of consistency cards, lots of item based search to try and get our Pokemon out as easily as possible. And as I mentioned, we have the buff padding here. So this increases our Pokemon's HP by 50. That means that our Donphan is going to be having a total of 200 hit points, and on a stage 1 Pokemon which only gives out one prize card, that is extremely strong in this format. Things like Pikachu and Zekrom GX dealing 150 damage with its full blitz attack, so that wouldn't be able to get a knockout if we have buff padding, as well as ADP. Once they use their GX attack and then they'll be swinging for 180, usually that would knock us out, but with the buff padding we're going to be out of range of that attack and we can actually survive a hit against the ADP. So there's lots of situations like those that the HP boost from the buff padding is going to be extremely useful. But to combo with the Donphan's Earthquake, as I mentioned, we're going to be taking advantage, and we have a 2-2 line of the Galarian Runerigus here. So it is a little bit of a downgrade in terms of HP. It does only have 100 HP for a stage 1 Pokemon, which is almost like a basic, really. Not very strong. We do have a attack here for a double colourless energy, so we're going to be taking advantage of twin energy. It's called Spreading Spite, and we get to deal 20 damage or 2 damage counters on any of our opponent's Pokemon for each damage counter which is on this Pokemon. So as we're using Earthquake and piling up damage all across our board, then after a couple of our Donphans have been knocked out, we can go in with our Runerigus here and we can actually put damage counters on our opponent's Pokemon anywhere that we like. So we can use this to knock out a Pokemon that we've been dealing damage into with our Donphan, or if we have just short of getting this Pokemon knocked out, we can have up to 80 damage on this, then double that because we're able to place twice as many damage counters. That's a total of 160 damage that we can place on our opponent's board, which is enough to snipe a Dedenne for a knockout, finishing off a game with a Dedenne knockout, or potentially just spreading around enough damage to clean things up with Donphan. And again, we have ways of buffing the HP, so we're playing 2 copies of Big Charm, and this is going to allow us to put an extra 40 damage onto the Runerigus and get even more damage potential through it that way. Then we also have some supporting Pokemon in the 2 Oranguru with Primate Wisdom. We have the Oricorio, which allows us to draw 3 after a Pokemon's been knocked out, as well as a bunch of typical supporters, Research and Boss's Orders, Marnie of course, as well as taking advantage of the fighting typing. We are playing that Martial Arts Dojo. Typically it just increases our damage by 10 when we have a fighting energy, but if we are behind on prize cards then we're going to be dealing an additional 40 damage. This is excellent for boosting our Donphan's attack, as we'll go from doing 120 damage up to 160 damage, and we can 2-hit knock out things much more effectively this way. And then of course we are also playing 3 copies of Ordinary Rod. That is the only unusual count, I would say, as we do want to be recycling our Donphans very frequently throughout matches, as they are going to be knocked out quite a lot, so we want to be cycling through our Donphans. And of course we also have Rosa here as a one-off supporter, just if we're not able to find some of the pieces that we need after a Donphan gets knocked out, then we can play a Rosa to get our Donphan and energy and whatever else we need, as well as of course using the Oricorio to build up our hand size. So this is going to be a very fun deck to play. I've been having a lot of enjoyment out of this deck, and as you can tell, it is a mostly one prize Pokemon deck. You don't have to put down Oricorio if you don't have to in a particular matchup. So let's go have a look at some of those matchups, see how we get on. Be sure to leave a like on this video if you do enjoy it at any point. We have a reasonable start up in this matchup since we have a Phanpy in the active spot, and that's just about all you can hope for playing this deck, as you do have a pretty simple game plan, just evolving into the Donphan and start smacking as quickly as possible with Earthquake. That's all the game plan is with this deck, just use Earthquake for about 4 turns until you put the Runerigus into the active. We are up against a new deck using the amazing rare Kyogre here. So this Kyogre is able to deal 80 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon, but it does require a water, lightning, metal and colourless energy, so it's quite a lot to try and pull off, but it is probably the best counter to our deck as well, which is the only downside. So I think we'll attach the buff padding here, and we want to Pokemon Communication to get out some more basic Pokemon if we can, and then definitely want to hit our opponent with the Marnie. Now they are already at a low hand size, but we ourselves want to draw cards as well, so I think we'll hold off on the Evolution Incense and we'll just go with the Marnie, see what we can pull out of our deck from this. We get a very similar looking hand, which is, that's fine. I mean, we have the Donphan there, we're just looking for a fighting energy now, so I will Primate Wisdom and put Marnie to the top so that we're guaranteed a supporter card. And we are still missing that fighting energy, unfortunately, so we'll just pass it over to our opponent and have a Donphan ready for this following turn, assuming that we can find the fighting energy, of course. And our opponent just attaches and passes back over to us, though a very lackluster turn from our opponent. And as I said, we have the Donphan, so we definitely want to evolve there, and we have Evolution Incense to grab ourselves a second Donphan as well. Definitely want to get that out, and I think we can quick ball quite comfortably too. We'll grab a Yanma here. Is it Yanma or is it Yamask? It is Yamask. Yanma's the other one, the stage 1 of course. And we'll Marnie once again. It's a bit unfortunate because my opponent didn't really do a whole lot during their turn, but we did have to try and find a fighting energy, and we've not been able to find one, which is a bit of a shame. The Kyogre does have 120 hit points, so we would be able to get a one-hit knockout here if we can just find a fighting energy. So I'm going to quick ball away. We'll get a different Pokemon here. I think we'll get an Oranguru. And we'll definitely want to Primate Wisdom, hoping that we can get a fighting energy off the top. That is unfortunate, we're not able to find one. We'll put down this Phanpy though, and just have to pass over to our opponent and hope that they're not able to get a knockout here. Well, not a knockout, but an attack. They would be able to knock out our Phanpy though if they do get an attack off. They have the attachment plus telescopic sight and just a Professor Research. So they're definitely trying to look for the Frostmoth, which they do find, and they'll potentially accelerate some water energy onto their bench. They also put the air balloon onto the active, so they could retreat, try and protect the Kyogre from an earthquake. So my opponent is going to retreat, and they'll promote the Crobat, so they are just trying to protect their Kyogre there, build up the energy on their bench instead, and just feed us 2 prize cards, which I will happily take if we're able to find an energy, but I am going to be pretty scared of the Kyogre coming in and sweeping our board, because once we Earthquake we're going to be putting 20 damage on all of our Pokemon, and they're going to be very close to being in range of getting knocked out by this Kyogre. So at least we have the Donphan, and we'll be able to evolve that. We also have the Big Charm for the Runerigus, so at least it will be out of range for a turn. I think ideally we would have wanted to get a boss's orders and knock out this Kyogre before it starts causing havoc on our board, but we weren't able to do that since we did miss the fighting energy a couple of turns there. A bit of a shame, and I guess one of the hazards of running only 6 fighting energy, but considering you are a 1 energy attacker, you don't really want to be clogging your deck up with energy cards. So we get the extra Donphan there into play. We'll attach the Big Charm as I said, and Professor's Research, finally getting into that energy, and we even have a boss's orders for the following turn if we need it. So definitely want to attach that since we're going to be attacking, and we can put a card to the top of our deck. I think we'll put Rosa to the top just in case we get knocked out here. We get another fighting energy, and we're definitely going to be evolving into Runerigus, which with the Big Charm it now has 130 hit points, and it will be able to survive one wave of the Kyogre using that attack, dealing 80 to everything. So we'll Earthquake here, get a knockout on the Crobat, dealing 240 since it has weakness, and then going to be onto my opponent to see what they can come up with. We'll get our first 2 prize cards of the match. They're definitely promoting the Kyogre, so they're ready to attack with it, and they're going to be spreading 80 onto all of our Pokemon. Now that's fine for our Pokemon like Oranguru and our Donphans, but if we want to use Earthquake again, then Runerigus is going to be at threat of getting knocked out, as well as Oranguru in fact. So my opponent's just playing out their turn. They've got the Viridian Forest, the Research, and they're just building up to try and get a second Kyogre set up. So the good thing here is we have the Galarian Runerigus. When my opponent spreads all of the damage here, we are going to be able to promote that and attach our Twin Energy and spread some damage of our own. We could take a knockout on the Dedenne. That would give us some nice 2 prize cards and put us ahead. Alternatively, we could try and spread some damage onto the Kyogres here. Just depends on what we're feeling. So my opponent's not able to get a knockout, but they are spreading a lot of damage onto our board. This is not a good spot. I think we're going to use Primate Wisdom here to put a Twin Energy on top of the deck. See if we can get ourselves a switch. We do get a switch, which is the exact card that we were looking for. So we can switch into Runerigus, and then attach an energy to the Runerigus, and then it's just a question of what do we do here. We can spread a total of 200 damage around our opponent's board, which is not quite enough that we need to get a knockout on the Kyogre. If our opponent attacks again, then they're going to get a knockout across all of our Pokemon. I think we could boss his orders up something to try and stall, which seems like a reasonable option. We could bring up the Oricorio. Let's go with that. Bring up Oricorio with boss's orders, and we'll make use of our Runerigus here, spreading around damage. We can deal 200 damage, so okay, so we've spread around damage on our opponent's board. We did 120 to the Kyogre that just attacked us, as well as the remaining 80 onto our opponent's other Kyogre. So hopefully my opponent doesn't have a way of retreating here, but looks like they do. They have the energy retrieval, which is going to allow them to attach energy to the Oricorio and then retreat into that other Kyogre and then spread damage across our board. So we were a little bit short there. I think we needed another lot of 20 damage on our Runerigus. So perhaps using the Earthquake would have been a better move there, although we would have been knocking out our own Oranguru if we had done that, and then we also wouldn't have been able to use Runerigus at all. So not really sure what the best course of action was there. could have knocked out a Dedenne as well for 2 prizes, but then my opponent would have had both of their Kyogre available to them. So no situation here seems like a good one for our side anyway, considering the amount of damage that we're spreading onto ourselves. And my opponent is able to get a 4 prize knockout here with the amount of spread damage that they're dealing. All we can really do is promote our Earthquaking Donphan and get a knockout on this Kyogre, and hope that they're not able to get set up with another Kyogre at all. So we can attach a Twin Energy as well and get a knockout that way. That seems reasonable. We can also use Rosa to search our deck for some Pokemon and some cards. Get Evolution Incense, and we can also grab an Energy. That seems fine. Take those, and then we'll put the Phanpy into play, and we will get a knockout here, dealing the remaining damage to get a knockout on the Kyogre, going down to 2 prize cards remaining. So if my opponent is not able to get a knockout here, we do have the boss's orders, allowing us to bring up that Dedenne and get a knockout on it for the game. It's been a very difficult game to try and navigate since my opponent is spreading so much damage, but they just take so long to get set up with all of the energy required for the Kyogre. It gives us the time that we need to try and target down any Pokemon that our opponent has that's going to give us 2 prize cards. Especially my opponent retreating to that Crobat in the earlier part of the game. Definitely not a good move for them. They go for a Turbo Patch, double Turbo Patch. They hit heads on one of them at least, so they get an energy onto their Kyogre. They're just 2 energy away from being able to attack with it, but they have drawn out their entire deck here, so even if they aren't able to get an attack off them, we're going to be able to win this game. And there it is, my opponent concedes they're not able to manage their resources anymore, and we do pull out a victory. Very close matchup, that one. Starting off this match with a Phanpy in the active, so definitely a preferred starter. Looks like we're up against some sort of Zacian deck. We have an energy attachment to start us off, but we don't have a whole lot going on with his hand. It's not very hot whatsoever. We're just going to pass it over to our opponent. We definitely could have quick balled there for another basic Pokemon, but I think we just want to hold on to this hand and see what we get off of the top deck, and also just see what my opponent is playing in general. They are going to be putting down the Viridian Forest, as well as using Quick Ball to get a Dedenne GX out of the deck. They just want to bin the hand that they had there. And let's have a look here. They have a couple of energy switches. I'm guessing it is the ADP build, Arceus, Dialga, Palkia. They try and go for a Crushing Hammer, but it fails them. And again, not playing a huge amount of cards, so they're just using Professor's Research to discard more cards. They had the Spinner, the Marnie. They discarded an energy. It's definitely not going great for my opponent here. And they used Cherish Ball. I'm guessing they got ADP. Yep, that's right. They got another Crushing Hammer, which they hit heads on. It's a bit unfortunate. Definitely want to be having a hold of our energy on our Pokemon, but we should be able to find another one, hopefully anyway. And I suppose actually they do have the Viridian Forest down, so we can easily just search for another energy. Or we can even just draw one, which is even better. I think we want to use Pokemon Communication here to get ourselves a Donphan and just start swinging into our opponent. It's pretty sketchy since we don't have a lot of other basic Pokemon going on, or even a supporter at our disposal, but just getting an attack off nice and quickly here is going to be our best option. And we do have the buff padding to back us up as well. We could always Quick Ball away the switch, but there's not really any threat of my opponent knocking us out here, so I'm quite happy to just Earthquake with this lone Donphan, since there's no way that they're getting the energy onto the Zacian this turn, and they are probably just going to go in with the Altered Creation GX to attack and try and take extra prizes, but even then they're going to have to 2-hit our Donphan. They did discard the Tool Scrapper already, which is great for us. Hopefully they don't play 2. Most decks only play 1 if any. so I reckon they will have to two-hit into our Donphan. And then if they don't have a way of switching out this Zacian, well, they do have the switch, just as I say that. And they have a Cherish Ball. Let's see what they have here, a Mobile. It's not going to do anything against us. Let's see if they put it down. They do. They can see how terrible our hand is. And they're probably regretting putting that down, which is fine by me. They're going to Metal Saucer onto the Mobile, which is interesting. Opting not to attack with the Zacian since it is already damaged, but they also play down a second Dedenne, using that Dedenne change to refresh their hand and see a new selection of 6 cards. Also getting rid of that Eldegoss there. We see a Martial Arts Dojo, another card we could potentially discard with Quick Ball. And we also have the Twin Energy, but we obviously want to be using Earthquake to deal more damage. I think we will just Quick Ball here and get rid of the switch. Definitely want to grab ourselves a basic Pokemon at this point. Potentially a Fampi could be good, or an Oranguru so that we can see more cards. And I think that's going to be more useful overall. Just putting this down, using Primate Wisdom here to switch our Twin Energy with the top deck, hopefully get a supporter card. I mean, that is a supporter card, but it's not one that's going to draw us any cards, unfortunately. And we'll definitely put down the Martial Arts Dojo here so that my opponent's not able to get any more basic energy. Now the question is if we want to use our boss's orders here, or if we want to hit into the ADP. We could take out the Zacian, or we could just start trying to deal some damage to the ADP. And I kind of like that, so we will just go straight in, dealing 120 damage to the ADP, although it is 130 now with the Martial Arts Dojo. That extra 10 damage not going to be particularly relevant in this matchup. It's only going to be relevant if my opponent was to take prize cards, and they're going to be kind enough as well here and give us a Marnie, which is going to refresh our hand, give us 4 cards instead of that boss's order, although apparently we're just going to draw into even more boss's orders here. Drawing 2 boss's orders from the Marnie is kind of crazy, and definitely not the supporter that I want to be seeing right now. I mean, I'm fine with it since it gives me options to bring up any of my opponent's Pokemon, but we're not in a good spot here as we don't have any basic Pokemon to work with. If we hit into the ADP, they're going to definitely get a knockout on us, or we could bring up the Zacian and get a knockout on that instead, and that would be good as it would give us 2 prize cards. We have a look at the Mobile, see how much damage it does. Does 10 plus additional damage, 30 damage for our bench Pokemon, so it's dealing 40 plus the ADP 70. So it would also get a knockout since we only have a 20 HP remaining. So I think I'm just going to use boss's orders here. We can always Primate Wisdom first, I guess. We'll Primate Wisdom, put the Twin Energy back on the top of the deck. We got ourselves a Marnie, so I'll go with that instead. Definitely want to find more basic Pokemon here. Getting the knockout on the Zacian would have been nice, but we're at the point where we're going to be falling too far behind if we don't get any basic Pokemon. Unfortunately, we still don't get any basics. So I will attach a Twin Energy onto the Oranguru just in case we want to retreat it, although it does give us an option to attack as well. And we are forced to Earthquake into the ADP once again. We do at least have the Rosa, so we can get ourselves a basic Pokemon on this following turn, as well as an energy card, so we could actually attack with the Oranguru. It's not the best Pokemon to be attacking with by any means, as it is only doing a pitiful 70 damage for 3 energy. But we don't have a lot of options here, so it's just what we're going to have to work with. My opponent gets the knockout on our Donphan and takes 2 prize cards for it. We do have a Quick Ball which we can make use of. I think we're going to be discarding the Runerigus here as much as I would like to use it. Although we could always get rid of the buff padding, but the buff padding is going to be great against ADP if they want to try and attack with that again. So we'll Rosa first, get some Pokemon out of the deck, getting Fampi for sure, and we'll get ourselves Ordinary Rod perhaps, although we have a bunch of Donphans still on deck. Well, we have one Donphan in deck, so we definitely want Ordinary Rod. As much as I want to get a supporter as a returner card, we definitely need Ordinary Rod here. And of course I'm going to get a Fighting Energy. So my opponent's not doing a huge amount of damage here. They're only doing 70 if we put down a basic Pokemon. So we are actually surviving a hit here, funnily, with the Oranguru. We'll definitely want to use Ordinary Rod to shuffle in some of our Pokemon plus energy. Definitely need Donphans to be able to attack, as well as those energy cards. So I think we could Quick Ball away the Runerigus, although that's going to be able to give our opponent more damage that they're dealing, which is not something that I want. And we do already have 40 damage on us, of course, from the Earthquake, so we only have 80 HP remaining. Our opponent is dealing 70, so we're not getting knocked out just yet, although I think I will put the big charm on just in case they have something like a Vitality Band. Then we want to be playing around that if we can. I'll use our Primate Wisdom to put the buff padding on the top of the deck, hopefully find a supporter card, which we don't, and we'll just hit into our opponent, dealing 110 damage, as we do have the Martial Arts Dojo in play, and it doesn't have to be a fighting Pokemon, it works with any Pokemon as long as it has a basic fighting energy attached to it. So definitely getting a additional damage boost with our Oranguru is nice. Looks like my opponent's playing the energy switch, moving some of their energy around, to putting it onto the damaged Zacian for some reason. Definitely would have put it onto the undamaged one, but that's their call, that's their decision. We get a hit from our opponent using the Mobile, of course, and now we don't really mind if we get knocked out since we're guaranteed to get knocked out. So we can Quick Ball away, and we'll get rid of our Runerigus here and grab ourselves a second Phanpy so that we can make sure that we have a bunch of Donphans developed. Definitely Primate Wisdom, putting the Martial Arts Dojo to the top, and we finally get ourselves a supporter card, so we'll put down the buff padding and Marnie, allowing us to get a fresh set of 5 cards. We get another Ordinary Rod, we're missing the energy unfortunately. We do get the Oricorio for the following turn, which could be useful, and we'll just have to hit into our opponent for the knockout, taking our first 2 prize cards of the match, and then my opponent's going to be able to come up and take an additional 2 prize cards, although the rest of their Pokemon are very heavily damaged. So we will be able to get a return knockout here, assuming that we can find energy, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. They are playing a Crushing Hammer, which is fairly irrelevant considering that they can get a knockout on our Oranguru, but they have the boss's order, so they're bringing up the Phanpy and getting an early knockout on that. But thankfully we were able to get another Phanpy down onto the bench, so we will still be able to get a knockout here, which is very good. The only issue is, of course, this Oranguru. It's going to be knocked out pretty soon. It has 40 HP remaining, so we can attack with Earthquake once, which is good. And of course we're going to be evolving into the Donphan, putting buff padding on it. We could put down the Oricorio. It doesn't actually make a difference if they knock it out, since they only need 1 more knockout to win this match. So we can put down the Oricorio, and definitely going to boss's orders up that Zacian before it attacks. So we'll do that now, although we are still looking for a fighting energy. So we need a fighting energy to get an attack off here. We're going to use Dance of Tribute, so we do get the energy, which is great, and we can Quick Ball away a card here. Let's get rid of the Evolution Incense, grab ourselves another Phanpy, slap that onto the bench, put our energy on. We'll boss's orders up that Zacian, since it's the only thing that can one-hit us. And we'll use Primate Wisdom, putting the Professor's Research on top in case our opponent uses a Marnie this following turn. And then we'll use Earthquake to get a knockout on the Zacian that we damaged earlier, taking 2 prize cards, and my opponent's going to be left with the ADP, which isn't able to get a one-hit knockout on us, so they are forced to find a boss's orders here if they want to try and win the game. if they're not able to find boss's orders, then it's all wrapped up and we've been able to pull it out of the bag and win this game. But unfortunately they just have the boss's orders in their hand there. That's a bit of a shame, and they are able to get a knockout and get the final 2 prize cards. Very close matchup, and we're so close to being able to win it. We're starting off this match with an Oranguru in the active spot, and we do have the Pokemon communication here that we can make use of, getting rid of this Donphan and replacing it with a Phanpy, and then easily being able to get a Donphan back out this following turn. So we'll definitely stick that Phanpy onto the bench. We can make use of Primate Wisdom here. I think we'll put the Marnie on the top so that we're guaranteed a supporter card in case my opponent uses the Marnie, and we do get lucky and hit a Fighting Energy that we can attach, and we'll just pass it over to my opponent. So they are playing a Togekiss VMAX deck here. They are weak to lightning and resistant to fighting, unfortunately, so they're going to be taking 20 less damage from us, or I think it is now 30 less damage actually, yeah, 30 less, it used to be 20. But they did get a heads on the Crushing Hammer, unfortunately, so we do lose that. But we have the Evolution Incense, so we can get ourselves a Donphan into play, as well as the Martial Arts Dojo to try and combat the resistance a little bit. And then we'll hit my opponent with the Marnie. We're looking for a switch here, as well as an energy. We just hit the energy, unfortunately, so we weren't able to get the switch this time around. But we can definitely put down the Yanmask, as well as attaching the energy and using Primate Wisdom here, maybe getting a switch off of the Primate Wisdom. We don't, just a Pokemon communication, so we'll pass it over to our opponent since we're not able to do a huge amount else here. They are also able to hit into us with the White Wind attack, and they can even start using their VMAX if they get it. So it looks like my opponent is playing a Greens build, and they're using Greens Exploration here, which allows you to search your deck for 2 trainer cards as long as you don't have any ability Pokemon in play. So they do grab that Chaotic Swell, as well as the Evolution Incense, allowing them to get the VMAX here and dealing 120 damage. And then the Togekiss VMAX also allows you to search out 2 cards from your deck, any 2 cards. So they're definitely going to be playing some disruption cards here, and they're most likely going to be getting those right now. It's a bit unfortunate that my opponent also put down the Chaotic Swell, as we won't be able to get any kind of damage modifier from our Martial Arts Dojo, and we're just going to be forced to Professor Research away this hand since we can't make use of any of those cards. We did get another Phanpy, which is a good pickup, and we also have an energy for it. I'll attach it to the Phanpy, why not? We might as well play down this dojo, although I don't think it's going to make much of a difference getting rid of the swell. They can easily search out another Chaotic Swell, and we'll just go for an Earthquake, deal our 90 damage with that resistance. At least my opponent's not able to get a knockout on us, although they can easily 2-hit us. We see a Crushing Hammer again getting ahead and discarding our Fighting Energy. At least we do have one in hand, as well as the Ordinary Rod we can shuffle our Pokemon and energy back into the deck with. And my opponent uses the supporter card here. Where's it gone? My opponent used the supporter card here, Kabu, which allows you to shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 8 cards, assuming that you only have 1 Pokemon in play, and they did indeed have that. They also got another Heads on the Crushing Hammer, so we're losing a bunch of energy here. But my opponent's going to be searching out 2 cards from their deck once again, and we're going to be falling behind a little bit as we're not doing the most amount of damage that we could be. And you really want to be dealing that full 120 damage with Earthquake to really make sure that it's actually effective. So it goes over to our turn. We get an Evolution Incense, which isn't the best card to be picking up, but it allows us to at least get our Runerigus into play, and we can always make use of Runerigus at some point to put some additional damage counters onto my opponent's Pokemon. We have the Fighting Energy, of course, and we don't want to use Ordinary Rod just yet, I don't think. We'll hold off on that, and we'll Earthquake for 90 damage once again. Hopefully my opponent isn't playing any healing cards, that would not be any good for us, but they do have that 180 damage that we've dealt, so they are getting quite low to being knocked out, and they do have 130 hit points remaining. If we're able to find a twin energy, that would be great, and it would allow us to get some good damage on my opponent's board. We would be able to get 80 damage, which is not quite enough to get a knockout here. We would still need to use Earthquake a few more times. And my opponent is using the Magneton there, which allows them to knock it out and search the deck for a supporter card, or a couple of supporter cards, but they are just getting Kabu once again, shuffling their hand into their deck. They get down another Togekiss with an energy, and of course getting a knockout here. So we will be looking for a supporter card, hopefully able to find that, which would allow us to start drawing cards, as we do need to see a energy card here so that we can actually attack. Preferably a fighting energy, of course, for the Donphan. As I mentioned, our Runerigus isn't doing quite enough damage yet to actually get a knockout, so we do need the Donphan to do most of the work. My opponent getting the extra cards there that they're able to search for with Togekiss VMAX, and we are able to draw a Professor's Research, which is excellent. So we're definitely going to be making use of Ordinary Rod here to shuffle in a Donphan line, as well as 2 energy cards. And then we can even make use of this Martial Arts Dojo if we're able to find a fighting energy. So we are able to find an energy, which is great. We even get the Fampi as well for the following turns, and we can use Earthquake for the knockout, dealing additional damage with Martial Arts Dojo since we are behind on prize cards. And we get to take 3 prize cards off of the VMAX there, which puts us very much back in this match. My opponent has to promote the Togekiss, and of course they grab themselves the VMAX on the last turn there, and they also have the energy for it. They're playing a Lieutenant Surge, which allows them to play 2 supporter cards on their turn, also hitting us with the Reset Stamp, which is a bit unfortunate, putting us down to 2 cards. But we did draw into that fighting energy, so we can hit with a Donphan if we're able to draw into it. Otherwise we're going to be stuck here as we're not able to attack. I would love to be able to use the Runerigus as well to get some additional energy, or not energy, damage onto my opponent's board. But they do have the Green's Exploration again after a Kabu, and they grab themselves Lieutenant Surge and Boss's Orders. Not Research. Forget Research. Not that one. They get a knockout here, of course, and we're a bit stuck. We're not able to do a huge amount. We could hit with Fampi and deal 20 damage, which doesn't look great at all. And my opponent again searching out 2 cards from their deck. So we'll promote the Fampi, since we want to try and protect our Runerigus if possible. We are able to get into a Marnie, which is a good pickup. We have 60, so we can take another Earthquake hit on our Runerigus. So we'll attach the fighting energy to the active and use Marnie here, getting rid of all those cards that my opponent was searching and putting into their hand. Definitely want to get those away, and we are able to get into the Donphan, which is excellent. We also have a Quick Ball that we can make use of, as I don't really think we're going to need 2 Galarian Runerigus this game, so we'll just discard it and get ourselves a Fampi once again, and we can hit into our opponent for that 100 damage this time around, since we did go ahead in prize cards, so we're not getting a full boost of damage from the dojo, but we're still getting a boost of the 10 damage, which is nice for sure. My opponent has the Lieutenant Surge again, as they are behind on prize cards, and they have a Team Rocket. They're able to discard 2 cards from our hand, which is not good. We got rid of the Twin Energy and a Professor of Research. 2 cards I would love to have kept around, as we would have been able to attach that to our Runerigus. And my opponent is going to be able to use the Magneton here once again, searching out some supporter cards to get Marnie, Boss's Orders, and the Team Yell Grunts. But that does give us another prize card, so we only have 1 prize card remaining to take. Although considering our only card is a Big Charm, it's not looking too good for us. We do get another knockout on our Donphan. They're going to be taking another prize card here, going down to 2 prize cards remaining. We could promote our Fanpy, or we could promote our Runerigus and cross our fingers that we get a twin energy. Although I think getting a Donphan is going to be more efficient if we are able to get that, so I'll promote the Fanpy here. And we get into an Oricorio, which is a good pickup. We can definitely draw some cards with Oricorio. We'll dance the tributes here, see what 3 cards we get. We got a twin energy as well as a Donphan, which is a bit unfortunate and kind of make me wish I'd put up the Runerigus now. So we would have to get into a switch if we want to attack using the twin energy, or alternatively we discard it and try and find a fighting energy instead. But I think trying to get the switch is going to be more beneficial, so we'll definitely attach here. The big charm's not going to make a huge difference no matter where we put it, so I'll just slap onto the Runerigus, why not? And then we'll use Professor's Research, hopefully drawing into a switch. We get 2 of them, so that's even better. And we'll switch into the Runerigus, and we're able to deal our whole bunch of damage here. They only have 1 Pokemon, so it does 160 damage onto their VMAX, and they scoop it up very good, as they were pretty much behind. They weren't able to finish up and heal their Pokemon or anything like that, so they just concede to us. Very awesome extra victory there to finish off the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. As you can see, it's a very fun deck to play and very effective 1 prize deck as well. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a like down below, as it really helps out the channel, and always subscribe if you did enjoy this and want to see more videos like it. I've been That Scottish Nerd, I'll see you in the next one.